Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are opening up the Architect's Toolkit for the web. We're talking about CSS, the language that takes a boring old document and turns it into something beautiful, functional, and honestly, kind of magical. So let's dive in. Here's our game plan. Think of it like an architect's journey. First, we're going to lay the foundation, understanding the page's basic building blocks. Then, we'll grab our power tools, Flexbox and Grid, to build out the actual structure. We'll even have a little showdown between them to figure out when to use which. And finally, we'll add those amazing finishing touches that bring the whole thing to life with motion.
All right, first things first. Before you can arrange anything, you gotta understand the basic physics of how elements even behave on a page. And pretty much all of that starts with one single, crucial property: display.
I mean, you've totally run into this, right? You write some HTML and some tags, like a div, just automatically create a new line, while other tags, like a span, just sit right next to each other. What is going on there? Well, the secret is all in their default display value.
So check this out. Block elements, like your divs and paragraphs, are kind of greedy. They always start on a new line and they stretch out to take up the full width available. But inline elements, like a span or a link, they're more polite. They're happy to share a line and only take up as much space as their content needs. And then you've got this awesome hybrid, inline-block. It sits on the same line like an inline element, but you can actually give it a specific width and height, which is just perfect for things like buttons.
Okay, so display is one half of the foundation. The other really big piece of the puzzle is the position property. See, display controls how elements fit into the normal flow of the page. But position, it lets you yank an element right out of that flow. You can use position absolute to place an element anywhere you want inside its parent, or position fixed to, say, lock a navigation bar to the top of the screen, even when you scroll. It's your tool for ultimate precision.
All right, our foundation is poured. Now it's time for the fun stuff. Let's grab our first power tool, Flexbox. Seriously, if you've ever tried to arrange a bunch of items in a single neat line, either horizontally or vertically, think like a nav bar, Flexbox is going to be your new best friend.
And this right here is the absolute key to getting Flexbox. It is fundamentally one-dimensional. That's its whole deal. It is a master at arranging things along a single axis, either a row or a column. Don't think of it for your whole page layout. Think of it as the perfect tool for organizing the stuff inside a component.
And here's the basic idea. You just go to a parent container and you tell it display flex. That's it. You've just turned on Flexbox. From there, you're mostly going to use two main properties: justify content to align things up along the main direction, and align items to handle the other direction. It's just so intuitive.
I mean, just look at how simple this is. 2 lines of CSS, and bam! Everything inside that container is now perfectly, beautifully centered horizontally. This used to be a huge headache in CSS, something people wrote entire blog posts about. Flexbox just does it. That's real power.
If you remember one thing about Flexbox, let it be this. This is your interview answer. This is your rule of thumb. When you're dealing with a single row or a single column of stuff, Flexbox is almost always the right tool for the job.
Okay, time to level up. If Flexbox helped us organize all the books on a single shelf, CSS Grid is what we'll use to build the entire bookcase. It's designed from the ground up to handle layouts in 2 dimensions, rows and columns, all at the same time.
And there it is, the huge difference. Grid is all about 2-dimensional control. It lets you define this, well, a grid, and then you can place items exactly where you want them inside of it. This makes it absolutely perfect for the overall structure of an entire web page.
With Grid, you get total control. You actually define the structure first, using grid template columns and grid template rows. You are literally drawing the blueprint for your layout right there in the CSS, telling the browser exactly how you want it all to be structured.
And just like that, with 1 line of code, you've got a perfect 3-column layout. The secret sauce here is that FR unit. It stands for fractional unit, and it basically just tells the browser, hey, take whatever space is available and divide it into 3 equal fractions. It is so simple and so powerful for creating responsive grids.
And here's the big takeaway for Grid. When you are thinking about the big picture, the main content area, the sidebar, the header, the footer, the whole shebang, Grid is the tool that was literally designed for that job. It's just got unmatched power for overall page structure.
So, Flexbox versus Grid. Who wins? Well, spoiler alert, that is totally the wrong question to ask. This isn't a competition. It's about knowing your tools so you can pick the right one for the specific problem you're trying to solve right now.
And this slide just nails the difference. Flexbox is one-dimensional and content out, meaning the size of your content kind of dictates the layout.
Grid, on the other hand, is two-dimensional and layout in. You define the grid structure first, and then you pour your content into it. Honestly, the best layouts almost always use both. Grid for the big page structure and Flexbox for all the little components inside that structure.
Okay, our structure is built. It's solid, it's organized, but it's a little bit static. It's time for the magic. It's time to add motion, the thing that makes a design feel interactive, polished, and truly alive. And in CSS, there are two main ways we do this: transitions and animations.
The best way to think about a transition is like a dimmer switch for a light. Instead of a property just snapping from one value to another, like a light just flicking on, a transition creates this smooth, gradual change between the start state and the end state. And it's always triggered by something, like a user hovering their mouse over a button.
You can see it right here in this code. Without that transition line, the button's background would just instantly snap to red. It's kind of jarring, right? But by adding just one little line, transition background 0.5s, we tell the browser to please animate that color change over half a second. It's a tiny detail that makes a world of difference in how professional the page feels.
So, if transitions are a simple dimmer switch, then animations are a full-on pre-programmed light show. They let you create these complex, multi-step sequences of motion that can run all by themselves, without anyone having to do anything, and they can even loop forever.
And making one is basically a two-step dance. First, you define the storyboard for your motion using something called @keyframes. You set what the element should look like at different points in time, like at the beginning, 0%, and at the end, 100%. Then you just take that storyboard and you apply it to an element using the animation property. That's it.
So when do you use which one? It really boils down to this one crucial difference: the trigger. A transition needs a state change to kick it off, like a user hovering or clicking. An animation is totally self-contained. It can start the second the page loads and just keep going. So you use transitions for reacting to the user and animations for eye-catching, continuous motion.
So there you have it, from the basic physics of display and position to the powerhouse layout tools of Flexbox and Grid, all the way to adding that final layer of polish with transitions and animations. You now have the core architect's toolkit for building on the modern web. So the only question left is, what are you going to build first?